What episode is this?
This is episode 15.
Ooh. Oh, okay. Ready?
It's a big one.
Is that an anniversary episode?
Yeah, this is the special. All right.
Okay, welcome along to episode 15 of Sweet Tea and Coffee. This is super cool. Tomorrow, we're recording this on the 22nd of September, and it's the 15th episode. Tomorrow is Lindsay and I's 15th wedding anniversary.
That's impressive.
So that
way to go, Lindsay.
That we made it. Way to go, Linz. So yeah, that's fun. So thanks everybody for listening to our last episode with our wives on it. Today,
which was a record episode, by the way. That was a very popular episode. And I still don't know what that says about us.
Maybe they should be doing
the guy you just heard right there.
Yeah, the guy in the background
that's chiming in. That right there is, ladies and gentlemen, the challenge to Dos Equis's most interesting man in the world. I think that we actually have him right here in Nacogdoches. So our guest today is going to be Randal Cooper, and I really do think he's the most interesting man in the world. He's been all over, done all sorts of things, is here in Nacogdoches, and we're going to interview him right now. Okay, so as I said, we've got the most interesting man in the world here, Mr. Randal Cooper, and we always need to start off with some comment about sweet tea or coffee. And if you've been around for Onion Hill long, you know that Randal is pretty involved in our sound and production side of ministry here. And one of the things that I learned about Randal pretty early on in doing that, number one, that he always has a cup of coffee.
Yeah, he's without a doubt a coffee guy.
He's a coffee guy.
Answer that.
Which is good because I feel like we've had a lot of tea people.
Right.
So it's good to have a friend in the house.
That's because I booked a guest. I only pick people who drink tea.
That's right. But one thing I learned pretty early on is that Randal has a special mug, which I love that because we talked about my special mug a few episodes ago. But there was a tradition. Randal was in the Navy. We're going to get into that. There was a tradition on his ship where you did not wash your coffee mug. And so Randal didn't wash his coffee mug here. But how'd you get into coffee? And then tell us a little bit about that, not washing your coffee mug in the Navy. Where does that come from? And when did you start drinking coffee? Like 6 years old?
I was probably a little older.
Just a little bit?
7.
Yeah, that's right.
Probably high school. You know, I don't know what got me into it. I mean, my parents drank coffee, so, you know, I was always around it. But, yeah, probably high school is when I started drinking coffee a lot more.
Did you start off, we've made fun of some people in the past. Maybe it was one of those people that might have been a guest on our last episode about the way that they drink coffee. Did you start off with the multicolored coffee that's mainly not coffee, but partially coffee, and then work your way up? Or did you start off black? I feel like I know the answer to this question.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's worth asking.
I don't even know if it's worth asking, but do you remember?
I think I drank flavored coffee once, and then it was black coffee after that. You know, I was probably 7 or 8, and, you know.
That's exactly the answer I was expecting. One time.
That was enough.
Never again.
That was enough.
Never again.
It's black coffee. It's simple.
Yeah. So, okay, so your progression on your Facebook, you were saying, is...
On Instagram, by the way.
I'm sorry, not sorry.
Get with the social medias, Kendall.
Yeah, if there's anybody that should not make that mistake, it's me. Your Instagram, tell us the titles, the progression you were going through before we started recording.
Oh, I consider myself a luthier, then an engineer.
And?
Well, yeah, I had added the sailor part.
Yeah.
And a sailor.
Navy man. Yeah.
It is true. I was a sailor.
Where do you want to start? I pick one of those. Where does the journey begin?
I don't know. You want to do chronological?
Yeah, let's go chronological.
Okay.
I joined the Navy pretty much right after high school. Did that for 5 years.
Why did you join the Navy?
I don't know. You know how in high school you're used to being around a bunch of people and just...
You're around a bunch of people in the Navy.
You're around a bunch of people, you know, in high school. And then I guess I didn't want to, like, get out of high school and then not have anybody around me. I guess that was kind of one reason. And then there's a lot of benefits, you know.
Yeah.
Getting school largely paid for and stuff like that. So I think those are probably the main factors. And then, I talked to a recruiter, and they told me, they were telling us about the physical part, which is, I don't know, back then in high school, I thought that was the hardest part.
Yeah.
And he told me what it was. I'm like, that's all? It's like, well, I could probably do that pretty easily.
Yeah.
And it was true. I could do that pretty easily. So, I don't know. I guess all my fears about going into the military was, you washed away after that. It's not that hard. So
yeah, it's not like Full Metal Jacket, boot camp kind of deal.
Right.
Yeah.
It wasn't like it was on.
But that's what you'd kind of imagine when you were asking about the physical part. Like, what's going to happen?
Like how many miles I'm going to have to run before I wake up, Yeah. But it turned out to be, not that bad. So I was like, well, I can do that, and get some education maybe afterwards, because I didn't really have a plan for, education after high school. I figured I'd probably, I don't know, maybe do a tech school or something, and so I did that and decided towards the end of my career in the Navy that I would go ahead and go to college, and turned out to be a pretty good thing.
Yeah. But so, okay. One of the things I noticed about you early on too, is you're super handy. You love working on cars and building all sorts of stuff. And was that part of, like, were you that way in high school? And was that any part of going to the Navy? Like just wanted to be very hands-on in projects, or is that kind of getting more into the engineering side of your story?
I was definitely, doing a lot of mechanical things back then. It probably didn't factor into a reason why I went. It did kind of inform my decision and what I actually did when I was there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't really a reason to get in the mechanical side, but yeah, whenever I got in, I was working on boilers and steam turbines, so I mean, it was easy for me to get into it. It was a different kind of mechanics that I'd ever done, or than I'd ever done, but it was not too far fetched for me to get into that.
Say again what you were working on.
Boilers and steam turbines.
He said something pretty interesting there. I don't know if you caught that, but it wasn't a big leap from whatever he was knowledgeable about then to that.
Right.
For others of us,
like, I wouldn't even know it.
That's quite the leap. That's quite the leap. That would be quite the journey for me to go from right now to turbines and boilers. There's no background.
So what kind of ship did you serve on? Because you were actually stationed on a ship. You weren't.
Right. I was stationed on the same ship for pretty much the whole time I was in the Navy, which was 5 years. So it was an LHD, which is, if I can remember correctly, it's landing, helo, and the D stands for maybe deployment. Who knows?
It's like a smaller carrier.
It is.
Right,
it is a smaller carrier.
Smaller
it is
helicopters.
It's probably the next size down from a full size aircraft carrier.
Right.
So we didn't land jets or anything. You landed helicopters. But still a pretty big ship.
Yeah. So how many people would be on that crew?
I think, and that was a long time ago. But I think the capacity was maybe around 3,000. I want to say 3,000.
Goodness gracious!
So was that about equal to your high school? I mean, you're mentioning that being...
No, I ratcheted up a little bit.
Okay. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Lufkin and went to school in Hudson.
Okay. So you
Hudson High School is not quite 3,000.
No, I think we were 3A.
Yeah.
So you were dealing with a lot more people. You moved to a metropolitan area when you moved to the ship compared to where you grew up. That's right. Okay, so Navy was 5 years?
Yeah, Navy was 5 years.
And you get kind of a mechanical engineering sort of work there, and then you transition out of the Navy, and what comes next?
Yeah, so I kind of decided towards the end of the Navy that I wanted to be an engineer. Didn't really know what that meant. at the time, I kind of knew there was kind of mechanical engineering, and I knew there was something else, and I wasn't really sure what it was. Turned out to be civil was the only other thing that I kind of had any, I guess, knowledge of. I was like, well, I'll just do that. I enjoyed the time I was in the Navy, enjoyed working on boilers and steam turbines and all that, but I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to continue doing that,
right.
you know? And so I didn't want to continue doing really a mechanical engineering thing. So I was like, well, the other one's civil, I'll do that one. So I didn't really have a whole lot of knowledge of even what that was. So joined college, I guess, like a lot of other people, not really knowing what their major was. But yeah, joined up and decided civil, and then figured out what civil engineering was later.
Where'd you go to school?
Lamar.
Okay. So when does Nacogdoches, and if you know Randall and the Cooper family, you know, he's got a wonderful wife, Kara. That's somewhere in there, right? You knew her early on, right?
Oh, yeah. See, I think I've known Kara since the 4th grade.
I was going to say, I thought this was a long, long story. Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys are friends.
We were friends kind of my senior year.
Okay.
We just knew who each other were.
Yeah. We've had this conversation before, Blake and I have, where we're pretty sure our wives would have had nothing to do with us had we been in high school together.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We were way too cool for them.
That's it.
That's what it. I actually don't think that's the conclusion we arrived at. But okay, so you went to Lamar and pursued then civil engineering.
Yeah. Did civil engineering, did well. Finally figured out what that was, and liked it. Did some work in town for some consultants and stuff, and did design work. And I like design work pretty good. You know, working with CAD and figuring out solutions to engineering problems was fun. So I did that and enjoyed that. But I had this I guess I kind of got to back up a little.
Okay, back up.
Because right when I started college, I kind of found this other passion that I wanted to pursue, but I'd already started college, so it's like, well, I've already started college. I kind of need to finish this, and that was working on musical instruments, and it was just just a weird thing. I had a upright bass, and something fell apart on it. The sound post fell apart on it, and I just got online and somehow figured out how to get it back in there and fix it, and I went back and fixed it, but doing that research, I came across a school that specialized in that field, in the Luthier field,
which is what everybody was wondering. Earlier in the episode we said he was a Luthier, and everybody was probably like, what are they talking about?
So
he is Baptist. He is Baptist.
Not Lutheran, Luthier.
Right. So Luthier is, I think the definition is something like the repair and building of stringed instruments.
Oh, it's not specific to guitars then?
No.
Okay, interesting. I did not.
So I come across the school and did a lot of research on the school, and I was like, man, that's what I want to do. But so I'll do that after college. So that's what, we ended up doing. Finished college, stuck around Beaumont for a little while, and then, sold the house. Well, we didn't sell the house. We tried to sell the house and moved to Michigan.
Just off to Michigan we go. Now, okay, I want to dive into that origin story a little bit more. You had an upright bass. Were you super into music at that time, or was your family? How did just music in general really get into the picture? Because that's a big, you loved live music. You're obviously into sound and the engineering of all that. So how did that all come to be?
Yeah, so I just love playing music. I started out with guitar, and I owned several other instruments, but really guitar was the only thing that I could actually figure it out.
He's got a few right now he's trying to figure out too.
Yeah, I'm not great at guitar either, but yeah, I liked owning instruments or having cool instruments. So I, came up with some stuff, and And upright bass ended up being one of those things, and those things need a lot of upkeep. They fall apart, pretty easily. So,
so you were interested in a variety of instruments.
Mostly just guitar, mandolin.
That's interesting.
Upright bass. At the time, I was really into rockabilly and psychobilly music. So that's one of the instruments.
It's a thing.
I have no idea what that means. I don't know what I'm saying about myself.
It's intense.
It is intense.
Intense, like with a mandolin and a guitar.
No, those two genres.
Just hardcore
not so
bluegrass,
much.
or what?
No.
Okay.
Well, there has been some guys that have walked that line.
Okay, interesting. Okay, I learned something new. I knew I would learn something for sure on this one.
Anyways, they typically use an upright bass for the bass instrument. So anyways, I was into that music, and so I got a bass to be cool, and never really learned how to play it. But
that's a big one to store if you don't.
It really
not
is.
Using it, it's huge.
It really is. We
had a lady from our church when we were in Sundown, and super sweet little petite lady, and they were in a bluegrass band, and it just always cracked me up. You've got these, and their family was the men of their family were humongous. These big, tall guys. And they all played the guitar and the mandolin. So anytime their family would go on the road, and they'd play bluegrass shows all over the place.
Festivals. And
it was hilarious because they would unload their stuff, and the smallest of all of them is carrying this gigantic instrument. And then these big men are holding these tiny little cases for mandolin and banjo and everything. It was just always really, really funny.
I've noticed that before, though. That's
a thing.
It's kind of typical.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny. I just thought it was a great image. These big, strong guys carrying these little...
Yeah. That is a thing.
Okay, so you get a degree in engineering, and then it's like, okay, left turn. We're just moving to Michigan, and I'm going to figure out how to work on instruments?
Yeah. So the school was pretty in-depth. It was all day long. 40 hours a week, 6 months, so we were up in Michigan, I guess all summer and maybe half a winter.
Wow.
Or something like that, which was plenty of winter.
Plenty of Michigan.
By the time December was rolling around, it was time to come back to Texas.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did that and came back to Texas and landed in Nacogdoches.
How'd you get to Nacogdoches? What was you're from obviously
so
remotely close, but
we're from close, from Lufkin. So I don't know. We just decided, we want to be close to Lufkin, but not actually in Lufkin. And I'd always, I hadn't spent a lot of time in Nacogdoches, but I kind of felt like maybe it was a cool place. So
yeah.
So we just decided to get over here.
That's cool. Yeah. Blake was here.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty cool place.
Yeah, I was here.
I didn't know Blake yet, but...
Not yet.
It wasn't long.
I think... I don't know how long I've known you, like 12, 13 years. I don't remember when that was.
No, it wasn't that long, because I think we got here in 2010.
Okay.
So it might have been that year.
10, 11 years, somewhere in there. Yeah. Before I met Randal, I went through musical instruments like nobody's business.
What do you mean?
Like, I would get a guitar...
Oh, you just tear it up?
And I wouldn't tear it up, but like it wouldn't meet I would play it, it just would be off or something, and it was like, no, we'll just try something else. And so I just was like constantly buying and selling instruments. But then when I met Randal, I was like, there's this mythical creature called a luthier that can work and repair and set them up the way they need to be set up. And so that's been like a lifesaver and a money saver too, because now I've got a couple of guitars sitting over behind me that I've had since, before I met Randal, and he was able to make them perfect for me.
Yeah, so I'm going to do something super dangerous and wade into territory that I do not belong in.
That's always entertaining.
Are you ready? So when you are a musician and you are looking for a new instrument, do you have an idea, particularly, let's just stick with the guitar world. Maybe that'll be easier. Do you have an idea of the kind of sound that you want to get out of it, and which guitar you need to purchase to get that sound out of it? But then is what you're describing where you do that and then it's not quite getting what you want, but you don't know how to get there.
You kind of know what guitar. I mean, if you're an advanced musician, you kind of know what guitars make what sound and what wood combinations make this sound and what pickups and electronics and amps and all those things. This huge equation to get to one thing, which the reality is you'll never actually find. It's always something you're chasing after.
That's the real mythical creature.
Right. Yeah.
That's why you need so many guitars.
Yeah. But they're also instruments. That's why. Yeah. They're also instruments made of wood. And so they're not all the same, and they change and shift and seasons and humidity and moisture and dry air and things all make these things shift around and change. And so you can actually get a guitar and love it. And then within about a year or two, you're like, this thing is all out of whack. This is not the guitar that I remember buying. It's because, you've got necks that shift and things like that. And he's able to take that and straighten it back out and put it where it needs to go and things like that. So it's...
Okay, so then what you're doing, Randal, is are you listening to a musician describe what they're trying to get out of it, and then you're trying to shape and build and create that sound? Or are you saying, this is what this instrument's supposed to do, and I'm going to get it to do what it's supposed to do? How does that work?
So generally I start off with, I work to a certain set of numbers that I know are close, just from experience.
Per instrument?
Yeah, per instrument. I know what electric guitars, where they should be to play good. So I get it there to start off with, and then usually I just hand it back to them and say, hey, play this thing and tell me what you want it to do, how do you want it to feel? Because I can, when I get it close, then they kind of tell me where to go with it from there.
That's amazing. I kind of wonder if is this like the moment where you go to the mechanic and you don't know anything about cars, but you go and tell them and you say, well, here's the sound it's making. You make some horrible, and they have to interpret based on what you're saying. Is it similar?
It's probably like that on some people.
It is sometimes, yeah.
I mean, I think for those of us that have worked with Randal a lot, we kind of know a little bit better, hopefully know how to communicate a little bit better than that. But you've got some guys that know exactly what they want,
Oh yeah, there's some guys that are like super particular.
Yeah.
And
they'll bring you all the parts and hand it to you and say, this is what I want done with this.
Wow.
And
yeah.
Okay, so you go through all of that training, and it's obviously something you really enjoy, a passion of yours, and you're still doing that. Obviously, you do that as a kind of as a hobby. But what made you go through that training and then decide to go back into engineering? Was that the plan all along, or was that something that was a decision that was made later?
It was money.
Yeah.
So it, I needed to, support a family and stuff, which is not impossible, doing what I was doing, but I had this education and this ability to do engineering. And I was like, well, I can definitely make more money doing that right off the bat than in Luthier. Or being a Luthier. So I, went that route, and I still do the Luthier stuff on the side and everything. And I have, as much work as I can handle, so.
Yeah. 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 I mean, you've got your little shop and it's full. You're rocking and rolling all the time.
I am backed right up,
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. I didn't know if that was something that was did you have that plan going all the way through, that I know that this is not something that I'm going to be able to have a career with, but I just love it so much I want to be trained in it so that I can always do it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
That's interesting. Because some people seem to find those kind of hobbies after they're already in a career, and then they're doing something as a hobby, realize, hey, there's maybe some money in it. I love this, and can kind of do it. Kind of like what you did with woodworking, and that didn't last long, did it?
Yeah.
Or no,
I mean, I don't know how much
story.
I loved it.
Ooh, there's an interesting story. We maybe can
fun for a moment, but
for a later podcast, we'll cover, what was it called? Wood Creek. Wood Creek. Okay, that'll be we'll have to cover.
Yeah,
that.
I don't know. We'll see.
Nothing like what we're talking about.
I don't want to I don't know if I want to let that much information out to not people calling me being like, hey, can you build me a table? Because no, I cannot.
If you need a table built, you can email us at...
And I'll refer you to somebody else.
I'm just kidding. Okay, so so live music, all that's still a big part of your life. You've been trained as a luthier. You've been in the Navy. You're working on highways and byways and everything in between. How does all that intersect in your life? Like, I mean, most people don't have that many things that they've really gotten that deeply into. I mean, all those are pretty deep. How does all that intersect in your life? I mean, where do you see those things come together?
I don't know. I mean, you can't entirely focus on one of those. So I guess the focus gets spread out, pretty thin sometimes in some areas, but it gets spread out amongst all of them, and I still enjoy all of them, even if I don't spend equal amounts of time with them.
Yeah. Okay, there's one more question I have to ask, and then Blake, you can pick Randall's brain. One of the things you'll notice about Randall is that he always has a good band shirt.
That's correct. I think you got what you got on right now.
Amanda Shires today.
Yeah, always got a good band shirt. How many do you have?
It probably makes up 90% of my wardrobe.
Well, but give us like a total. How many concerts do you think you've been to in your life?
Oh, I don't know. Wow, I don't know.
Isn't that kind of how you guys even met and started hanging out? Was going to shows, or that was pretty?
No. I think we met at.
I think it was Great Escape.
I think it was Great Escape. Yeah.
But wasn't it pretty early on where you both really love live music?
I mean, I think we share a we're connoisseurs of fine taste in music. We really. I mean, that's what I was going to say. Randall's got like a pretty epic vinyl collection. I mean, I think that's
shirts and vinyls. That's what he's
shirts and vinyl. Like the college students come over to their house, and he's got a library of music they need to hear.
Yeah, they do need to hear it.
And do you host a life group, which is where our small groups for our college kids? Do you let them listen? I mean, is that part of?
Oh yeah. If anybody asks a question about the records, and they get the full tour.
That's part of being in the Cooper's group is that you have to have a musical education. Okay, so give me a number. How many shirts? How many concerts? The people need to know.
I mean, maybe 20 shirts, but it's way more concerts than that.
Yeah, it's hard to quantify how many concerts Randall's gone to.
I really don't. I really don't know. I'd have to.
So what is the criteria? I mean, 20 shirts and let's say 1,000 concerts.
It's not that many. But,
okay. Well, okay.
Maybe 100.
Yeah, I just wanted a number. No one's giving me a number, so I just threw
maybe
it out.
100. Maybe 100.
Okay,
I don't know.
20 shirts, 100 concerts. Obviously, that's not a shirt per concert. What's the criteria? How does a band earn your?
There's a couple because when he purchases a vinyl too, like there's a filtering process before he gets to that point.
Tell us about that.
Money.
How much cash you have?
I have 40 shirts if I had more.
Cash or credit card?
Yeah, it's like do I want to buy the vinyl? Do I want to buy how many of these records do I want? And it's like, well, I can get maybe 2 records and a T-shirt, or maybe 1 record and a T-shirt, maybe a T-shirt only. It just depends.
Yeah, it depends on the artist too. There's certain artists that they're going to put out a quality product, and
right.
There's a record coming.
But I may already have all the records, so then it's an easy decision.
Is the shirt about the band, or is the shirt about the band's logo or the design of the shirt?
The design plays a little bit of it, but I mean, I wouldn't be there if it wasn't.
Right now, you've got a shirt on with a buffalo that has wings. That's pretty cool.
Buffalo Wild Wings there.
Yeah.
It's not really wings. I think it's a.
Is it?
It's a woman's face and.
Oh, is it? Okay.
And wings.
And hair.
Oh, I see that.
Yeah.
It does.
Wow.
It is similar to.
It's similar.
Friends, you'll have to do that. You'll have to look it up to be able to know what we're describing, but.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, y'all actually have a commonality here. I don't think you realize it.
Okay.
A similar taste in music. He's a Sturgill Simpson fan as well, and you came in and said you were talking about that Sturgill Simpson album the other day.
let's be.
It was a. I'm just trying to give you some credit.
Oh,
here.
sorry. Yeah, I'll take it.
You're cool. That's cool points.
Oh yeah, that's what I needed was cool points. No, I thought it was interesting. He just put out an album that was
it's like a concept album.
A concept album. I'd never heard that term before, and it flashed up on something I was reading. A concept album. I thought, that's interesting. So I literally sat down, and which is, I guess, what you're supposed to do with this album.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
listen to it from start to finish.
Yeah, it
was fascinating.
It wouldn't make much sense otherwise.
Yeah, it was fascinating. I thought that was really a cool idea.
Mm.
It seems very true to folk country roots.
Yeah.
To be very storytelling. My kids will ask if they can listen to storytelling music sometimes, and that's what
Right.
they're asking for is kind of
Something that has
folk
yeah.
music. They
Yeah.
want to hear a storytelling music.
I think stories
Yeah.
are powerful.
Yeah, I like that. I like that album. That's a good one.
Yeah, it's interesting. And the
Yeah.
art on the, I guess I was watching this on what would have been Apple.
Oh yeah.
It's the art kind of moves as you're the album art moves as you. It's animated, I guess,
Right.
as you're listening.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was really
Technology.
really interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks for giving me cool points.
What's your favorite concept album, Blake?
What is what do we mean there when we say a concept album? Just because storytelling's been done before. Is it
Well,
the
it's
fact that he did the whole album
Right.
as one continuous story?
Yeah.
Well, it's a story, and all the songs are related to each other in some form or fashion. They all point to one theme.
That's the first time that's been done?
No. There's a lot of them out there.
Okay.
That might be that's on up there.
What do you mean? As like one of the best you've heard, or?
Yes, that's probably one of my favorites. And then
Interesting.
these are all fairly recent. Marty Stewart, Way Out West. I think that's a great album as well. That has that same.
That's the same album that the kids always ask for when they want to hear the. That's what's the song where he's got the gun and what's it called? Big Iron. Is that Marty
No,
Stewart?
that's Marty Robbins.
Oh,
but that's
wrong
a good
Marty.
one too.
Wrong Marty.
But no, his interesting fact about Marty Stewart that his mother named him after her favorite singer, which was Marty Robbins. So
okay, Marty Robbins is the one the kids like to hear.
yes,
That's probably
Big Iron.
Look into our house. Big Iron, and then what's the one? The other popular one. Oh no.
In West Texas town of El
Yes,
Paso.
yes.
Yeah,
El Paso.
yeah. Is that El Paso? They call it El Paso.
They
yeah.
love that song. Okay, sorry.
But yeah, that
Wrong
is
Marty.
another. Well, okay. Well, what is your favorite?
My favorite one.
Yeah.
I'll give you top three.
Okay, top three.
Top
That's good.
three.
Wow.
Favorite one is Tougher Than Leather. That's Willie Nelson.
Yeah.
The second
These
one.
are concept albums.
Right.
Right.
Second one is also Willie Nelson. That's Redheaded Stranger.
Stranger.
Wow.
That's probably a
That one was
Big
a
favorite.
pivotal one in
Yeah.
that whole genre of concept albums and country.
and then the
Outlaw Country.
Sturgill Simpson. Was it Dude and Juanita? Is that what it's
The
called?
Ballad of Dude and Juanita.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's probably number 3. It's a good one.
Wow.
It's really well done. Really
Yeah.
well done.
I'm surprised to see the same artist show up twice in your top 3. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I've heard stories of
Top 3 concept album.
concept.
Yeah, that's
albums.
not top
Okay,
3 albums
top
all the
three.
time.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
make
yeah.
sure clarify. Easy. Hold on.
Yeah, we're on storytelling right
Yeah,
now.
careful here. Okay. Well, listen, friends, we have just scratched the surface. I mean,
Absolutely.
just scratched
Yeah.
the surface with Randal Cooper. He's one of those guys that we need to have back on because there's so many different things that we could talk about. But that gives you an introduction. So when you see Randal back at the back on the soundboard, you now know a few things. You can start a conversation about Marty Stewart or Marty Robbins,
Yeah.
and he'll know what you're talking about. You can start a conversation about the military. He'll know what you're talking about. Or he can fix your guitar. He's wide open.
Or your car.
I'm not
or
wide
your
open.
car.
I'm
just kidding.
backed up.
He's backed up. I'm just kidding. But seriously, thanks for coming on. It's been fun to again scratch the surface, get to know you a little bit. And Blake loves it because there's somebody sitting in the room that speaks his language and can understand music. I just kind of have a blank stare.
I'll say this one last thing. I was just thinking about the first time that I met Randal, or one of the very early times. He pulls up in an old classic car.
Of course.
You know, and I don't know if it was the Mustang or one of the other cars. I can't remember.
It was probably the Mustang.
Probably
We didn't
the
even
Mustang.
get to that, all the cars.
And he steps out and his hair is kind of slicked back, and
of course.
he's got Wayfarer sunglasses on, a white T-shirt, and he looked like he's straight out of the 1950s. And I was like, I like this guy already. He knows what he's doing.
That's right.
So
That's right. What car are you working on right now? You got anything cool to tell us about before we just a teaser? Don't tell us all about it. What are you working on right now?
I have a 59 Ford that actually I've been driving it for a while this year anyways. It had some exhaust issues that I'm working out, so I got half the engine in my car right now. I need to
Just
go
in your trunk?
these are things that
It's
I would
in
be
the trunk.
terrified
I need to go put it
even
back.
attempt.
I need to go put it back together.
Wow.
Put the engine back in the front of the other car. Yeah.
Yeah, it needs to get out of the back of
Your current
my car and
Yeah.
into the front of the other car where it belongs.
A 59 Ford. Okay, maybe we'll start there the next time.
Yeah.
That
We'll check back up on that.
I never
progress
finished the
is going.
coffee thing though.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
You skipped right over it.
Okay, we've got to end there. That's where we're going to end. Tell us
Okay.
about the coffee.
All right, so I don't know where the tradition began. I don't know. Have no idea where it began. But apparently it is a tradition, at least on our ship, that you do not wash your coffee cup ever. And it was a buddy of mine, he worked in the chief's mess, which is where the chiefs, ate and hung out, and they had special places for their coffee cups, and they would hang them on the wall there. And I don't know, I guess somebody made him mad one day, and he washed every one of their coffee cups.
Wow.
And it turned out to be a pretty big deal. So anyways, I don't know. I went along with the tradition for the whole time I was in the Navy. I don't think I washed my coffee cup.
For 5 years.
Well, it was several years probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't wash your coffee cup here either at the church.
That's true. I didn't wash my coffee cup here for a long time. I've kind of grown out of the tradition now.
Well, our cleaning
out.
crew would pick up the coffee mugs and take them and wash them half the time because they were like, "What is growing in the bottom of this coffee?"
That's right,
cup?
and that's kind of where it. I kind of saw something needed to change.
That is incredible. I've got to know, if you know the answer to that. That would be fascinating to know. Is that a military tradition? Is that a Navy tradition? Was that just on his ship?
We don't know. Sailors can be superstitious, so you never know what that's about.
That's really interesting.
I don't know.
Well, I haven't washed my preaching coffee cup just because of that. I saw that Randall doing that. I went, okay, I got to do that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to. That mug I use in the morning, Sunday mornings, I'm not washing that.
Don't want to preach a bad sermon.
That's right. I don't want to have a bad sermon. Anyway, that's so funny. All right, man. Well, thank you for being here. Listen, if you've got a guest that you want to recommend or some questions that you want to throw our way, anything you want us to cover and talk about, as always, you can hit us up at
stc@fredoniahill.org.
Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next week. Adios.